there are actually no shortage of words that one can use to describe themselves as a person who sews. A sewer, a sewist, a dressmaker, seamstress, tailor. I mean, the list goes on. There is no right or wrong, of course, but I thought in this video, let's talk about the types of words I like to use and why, and mostly because I want to hear from you in what you aspire to be in your sewing journey. My dear sewing friends, welcome. It is always so lovely to see you here. If you are just being new here for the very first time, welcome. My name's Evelyn Wood. I'm the creator of VintageSewingSchool.com, and here on this channel we do everything garment sewing. And well, if you haven't already, do hit the subscribe button down below so you can see all the future videos. Now, this particular video was inspired by a recent comment here on YouTube where I used the term sewist in a video title and was promptly told that I was spelling it wrong and that it's not even a real word. Well, I'm really using it, so I'm going to call it a real word. And this is not about grammatical correctness or anything to do with proper English at all. This is about sewing terms that we use that we like to call ourselves. These are, of course, just words, and the words that we use can be quite powerful, and they all hold different meaning to what they have the meaning that we give them. And when we hold it to our art, our craft, our skills that we're trying to learn, what we would call that or aspire to, it holds I think, very high value on what we would call it. There are many terms to use for a person who sews. Might just be a person who sews, a sewer, sewist, or maybe there's a certain skill implied, a dressmaker, a seamstress, a tailor, skilled crafter, whatever it is that you might use, and that's what I want to learn about later. And of course, the connotations that these different words might hold is what you might choose one over another. And now the connotations that they might hold for you will probably be different than mine and someone else's. It's obviously going to depend on probably what country you live in, what language is your first language, male, female, whether there's a profession involved in what, like a professional level, a skill level involved. All of these different things are, I think, woven into the words that we use. And so it's really interesting to me to find out what you aspire to even the most. What is that magical one that holds that? What are you trying to achieve in your sewing journey? But that comes at the end, and I'll ask you that then. Wait until the end for that. I'm going to talk about some of these words, what I like to use and what I like to call myself. And some of the first ones are sewer and sewist. Well, these are the two, I think, obvious ones. It's a person who sews. Now, I used to use sewer all the time. I've moved to sewist, and I have some reasons why, and I'll tell you that in just a minute. But it mostly all started with Google. So why don't we start there and let's us Google sewer. When you type sewer into Google, this is what comes up. You get pages and pages and listings of sewage systems, things to do with plumbing and waste disposal, and don't even look at the images section because oh my gosh, I think you get the idea. So this is what is actually being indexed when we use the word sewer, at least in the internet world, online. And now this was brought to my attention. I had no idea, of course. It was brought to my attention through comments here on YouTube on some of my very first videos I started doing where I used sewer as the word that I used. And was also again told that I must have my English incorrect, please use the right terms, because when they Googled it, this was coming from someone as they said English was their second language, and so of course they were Googling the terms to find out what they meant more, and that's what came up when they tried to Google it. So I had absolutely no idea, and I know on this channel here, might be you, we have many of you that are English as a second language, and so you're probably doing this lots, and maybe you did this too and you Googled it and were like, this has nothing to do with sewing. And so it was that point that I started to actually look for a different word to just call a person who sews, with no implication of gender, with no implication of a skill level or a profession. I just wanted a very neutral term, and I'd heard the term sewist before and started to really use that and implement that into my vocabulary that I use here, particularly on the internet with reference to Google indexing. Because when we Google the word sewist, What is it exactly? Well, when you Google it, you'll find that at least sewing terms come up. Now, this is a relatively new term in the sewing world. I'm not sure who started it, where it started it, when. If anyone does, please feel free to leave those down below. I'd love to know more if you know more. It is a new term. It is, according to most references I've seen, is a mix between artist and sewer. A sewing artist. Sewist. Probably did that the wrong way. And so, it goes in line with someone who does something, a dentist, a arborist is someone who does something. So someone who sews. I really like it. It has no gender connotations. It has no skill level connotations. It is a very I think, lovely word to describe what we do. We're people that sew. And I believe, as you know, who've seen my videos, what we're creating here in our sewing, in our making of garments is our art. And so I think it perfectly fits the bill for what I like. And of course, when people Google it for the first time, they actually get something that comes up about sewing. So I like that as well. Now, before we move on from those terms, I would say that in general language, when I just talk, I do use sewer because it just makes sense to say. I definitely use the word sewist for Google indexing terms, and I like it as well. But not everybody knows this term, of course, and so they go to Google, but they get sewing terms, as we just talked about. What do you think? Is it a real word, or is it just some made-up word that doesn't mean anything? Leave those comments for at the end. Okay, now we move on to some more terms that I think imply a bit more of a professional, a bit more skill level, something that really encompasses, I think has a greater skill level implication embedded into the words. And we look at dressmaker, seamstress, tailor. I think these are the main ones. Now, do they have different meanings? Yes, they're all going to mean something different to you. I should absolutely make this very clear. I am not trying to define any of these terms whatsoever. That's not what this is about. This is just from my perspective, in what my experience, in what I have come to know and understand, and use these terms for myself, and what references I use them for, that they mean to me. They'll probably mean something different to you, and that is the whole point of this. So I think when we look at dressmaker, seamstress, tailor, there is I think the male-female difference between dressmaker, seamstress, and a tailor. I think often that comes from way back in the days when tailoring was reserved for men and menswear, and seamstress, dressmakers were obviously more female. I think that has totally left out, and for me, I don't really reference them against that at all. A tailor, for me, is someone who works with tailored garments. Tailoring is a skill in itself. Working with wool and tailored garments is all about the interfacing structured garments, jackets, suits, etc. There is mostly menswear, but that's what that sort of implies for me. And tailoring is a certain skill in itself. So seamstress, dressmaker, more similar. I call myself dressmaker. When people ask, I say I'm a dressmaker by trade. For me, it doesn't really have any different connotations, seamstress or dressmaker. I did have dressmaker on my business card because that's what I did. I did it professionally, of course, but it didn't really mean that I didn't use seamstress over dressmaker for any reasons of that, but that's just what felt comfortable for me. I know a lot of you feel that the term dressmaker implies someone who does that for a living or takes orders for that, and a seamstress might mean just that you're a home seamstress. Again, no right or wrong, but it'll just depend on what it means to you. So I definitely want to hear your versions of that. But I think for both of those, there's a certain level of skill involved. And now I say I'm a dressmaker by trade. That's what I use. I would say I'm a sewer. I like to use the term sewist for us all on the internet. I would say a sewing teacher is something I also call myself. Perhaps even sewing mentor is something that I aspire to be, but probably dare not call myself that yet. But that's maybe something that I aspire to be in my future. I would love to hear from you. What do you like to call yourself as a person who sews? And most importantly, What do you like to call yourself? What do you aspire to be in your sewing journey? What is that name that holds that skill level, that pinnacle point that you want to grow your skills to be? I would really love to hear it, because I think it's so fun to hear. And it's more about the meaning, not even the word, but the meaning of what it means to you, of what you aspire to be in your sewing journey. Leave those comments below. I really do look forward to reading them. And for those of you still here watching, thank you. You are part of the community here, our family here, and I want to give you a special thank you for being here and for always being so delightful and respectful to not only to me, but each other in the comments here. That is the kind of community I only want around here, because it's how you're going to grow too. You all share your sewing experiences for each other, and that's how we're all going to get better. So thank you for being such a beautiful human being around here as well. I look forward to reading your comments, and until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.